What's up? It's Marty here. Time for another episode of cheap, almost free collecting tips. Here we go. Alright, so today's episode is all about when to buy. So we're going to kind of go over my personal rules, some questions you can ask yourself to figure out when's the best time for you, and then just some general information. So actually we're going to start with that, just general information. So rule number one, and I think this should apply to anybody, again, there's going to be certain situations where maybe you're a huge fan and you want to support somebody on day one, but never buy a game on day one. Now it's a little bit more acceptable because usually we're getting reviews before the game comes out, but don't fall into the trap of the pre-order bonus. Unless it's a game that, even if it sucks, you're still going to have fun with. If it's a series that you enjoy, things like that, don't let them get you with the pre-order bonuses. Sometimes they sound really awesome, but don't let it work that way. And most of the case, if you wait even a week, you can get the game for $45. Now, that's not going to be the retail new price. That'll be the used price at somewhere like GameStop or Disc Replay. GameStop would be with your 20% off, but Disc Replay does that. They'll cut like 10 to 15 bucks off right away selling it new. So figure out where a good place is to get newer games but still used, and then you can save 10 to 15 bucks on every game you buy, even if you're buying it a week after it's out. Because even a week after, there's still going to be hype for it, so it's not like no one's going to be playing it anymore, nobody's going to be talking about it. So if that's what you're into, you can wait a week and you can still save, even if it's $5. And that's with good games. So if you're not so sure about a game, if you hear a game's not the greatest, but you still want it, bad games are going to reduce in price much quicker. Sometimes it's only a month or two, and they're selling them new for $40 to $20. And sometimes there's just special sales where they're $10. I don't know how long Shadow of War has been out. Where is it? Right here. Let's see. 2017. So I got this, I think, within a year of that it came out, or at least in 2018 is when I got it. But it was pretty early on, 2018. I got Shadow of War for $10 because there's a lot of criticism for the microtransactions that are in the game, and they fixed the issue, so that's not even an issue anymore, and I got it new for $10. So that was my opportunity to buy it then. Now the one exception is Nintendo games. They will not reduce in price very quickly, and there's plenty of videos as to why that is, so we're not going to get into that. But it's important to recognize it. If it's a bad game, Nintendo will maybe reduce the price, and sometimes they will reduce a price to $50, but usually they don't reduce the price unless they bring out something like Nintendo Selects, and it's like, oh, all the games for $20, all the games for $30, things like that. You can still buy them used, but they're not going to reduce in price used as quickly either. They're probably going to stay at that $45 mark, $40 mark for quite a few years. I mean, even some Nintendo Wii games are still pretty expensive used, like in GameStop. Like Mario Kart's probably like 30 to 40 bucks. It can get kind of crazy. So those are ones that can be exceptions. But again, you don't have to buy them in a store. You can buy them secondhand from somebody who is just wanting to get a little bit more in the trading credit. So maybe instead of $40, you wait until you find a good deal from someone selling it, and you pay 20 bucks. So with that information out of the way, here's some of the questions that I think are important to ask yourself if you are wondering if it's a game that you should get or when you should get it. So first and most important question, when I get this game, am I going to play it? Or is it going to sit on the shelf for who knows how long? Just because, say I want to buy God of War, the new God of War that came out. Just because I'm interested in it and I want to play it doesn't mean I'm going to get the chance to play it right away. There's things like life, maybe I'm in the middle of other games, maybe there was another game that I have sitting on my shelf that I've been waiting to play for a long time, and I'm going to pick those first. I'm a huge fan of God of War, but I'm not going to play it right away. Then it doesn't really make sense to buy it because, again, that's going to be a game that you can buy used for much cheaper. And it's not like you're losing anything buying it used. Second question. You got to ask yourself, what's the downside of waiting? Am I going to lose out on the hype? Is there a downside? Do I just have to wait? Sometimes that's all the downside is you're like, well, I got to wait. But if you're a collector like me, you got plenty of games to play while you're waiting. And if that's all it is, you might as well wait. Unless it's a game that you're, again, really hyped for, really want to play, huge fan of the series. But if it's something that you just kind of want to try out for the first time, usually it's better to wait and get it used, and get a reduced price, things like that. And the last question that I have is, how much will I play this game? Now, lots of people have different theories, different suggestions, different rules on this. My rule about how much I want to pay for a game is if I pay $1 for every hour that I spend in it, that's a good deal. And if I spend more hours than $1 per hour, then that's a great deal. So in most cases, I'm not going to pay $60 for a game unless, one, it's uncommon, maybe it's worth $80 and I'm going to get it for $60. Two, that's just what the physical release is going for, and usually I won't do that unless I have extra cash to spend. But I'm not going to pay $60 for a new game that maybe I'm only going to play for 10 hours. Now for me, an exception is shoot 'em ups. So those are games that I'm a fan of, and in most cases I'm not going to put probably more than 10 to 20 hours in a shoot 'em up, and that's if I'm lucky. So in those cases, again, I don't have any other type of game that I really do that for. So that's kind of my rule. And lately I haven't been following it that much, like with Turtles in Time. I'm probably not going to play it for 15 hours, at least not anytime soon. Maybe in my lifetime I will. But I also kind of tell myself, okay, if I play it with somebody else, that's going to bump up the value to me. So if that's a game that I can play with my brother for an hour, well, maybe that is like 5 hours of me playing it by myself. So again, that's not really a rule, but it's something that you gotta think about. Am I gonna play this game for 10 hours and spend $60 on it, or am I gonna play this for 120 hours and pay $60 for it? Is it really worth the money? Or could I wait for it to reduce in price and pay $20 and get 10 hours? Because I mean, some games are short, and a lot of times developers think about that, but not in all cases. Alright, and now to my other side rules that may not apply to you. So for me, I like physical collecting. So in the case of indie games, they're not always physical. So when they are, it's usually a limited run, like limited run games, strictly limited games, super rare games, things like that. So in those cases, they're not going to go down in price, at least not very much or very quickly. They haven't been around that long, so we don't know if they're going to skyrocket in price at some point or be worthless at some point. But right now, they keep their value. So those are ones that I know, okay, I could wait. I would have to wait a long time for the price to go down, and more than likely it's going to go up. So I'm going to buy those now if I think that those are games that I'm going to want to play in the future. That is my one exception. And kind of building off of that is those games will keep their value. So another thing I think about is if this is a game that I don't like, and this applies to any game, if this is a game that I don't like and really don't want to keep in my collection for whatever reason, can I sell it and get most, if not all, of my money back? And I've said that in plenty of my previous videos about how I don't know if I'm going to like this game, or I don't know if I'm going to play it that much, but at least I should be able to get my money back. I say that all the time, because that's one thing that I think about pretty often, which is why I'm always searching for good deals, about half the price of what it goes for on eBay, things like that, because I know, well, if I don't like it, I can sell it on eBay. I might not get the full profit because I'm going to probably sell it for the minimum, I'm going to have to pay fees, and then I'll maybe break even. But I can buy another game with that, and I maybe still had some sort of positive experience, but maybe it's a game that I didn't think was worth it, or a game that I think is going to go lower in price or I can find cheaper later. Those are other things I look for when I'm buying games. So again, an important question to ask yourself when you're looking for games, when you're video game collecting, is when you should buy the game. A lot of people think the sooner the better, and in some cases that's true. Some cases you won't see them again anytime soon. But in most cases, nowadays, especially for new games that are coming out right now, in most cases you can wait, and waiting's going to get you the better deal. So hopefully that was helpful. If not, that's okay. At least you listened if you're all the way here. So what I'd like you to do for me is if you could subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, tell me what you want me to talk about next. We still got these tips coming, but eventually we're going to run out, so stay tuned till next time.